its borders to all foreign nationals. That's going to start tonight. This amid fears that the Omicron variant could set back global progress on COVID-19. Hello, everyone, and welcome to Fox News Live. I'm Arthel Neville. Hi, Molly.
Hello, great to be with you, Arthel. I am, of course, in for Eric Shawn. Travel restrictions on 8 African countries are set to take effect in the U.S. tomorrow. President Biden announcing the move in an effort to prevent the new variant from reaching our shores. The CDC says it hasn't received any confirmed reports of Omicron cases in the U.S., but this morning, the director of the National Institutes of Health saying this is about the president's move.
Given the current circumstance, out of an abundance of caution, seeing that this is the most serious new variant that we've seen in several months, it made sense for at least for a temporary measure.
Well, we have Fox team coverage on this. White House correspondent Jackie Heinrich is traveling with President Biden. She's in Nantucket, Massachusetts. But we're going to first go to Atlanta. This is where Jonathan Seri is standing by live. Hi, Jonathan.
Hi there, Arthel. A growing number of countries, including Germany and the UK, are reporting cases of the Omicron variant. Israel has approved a plan to bar entry to foreign nationals and require its own citizens to quarantine after traveling abroad. Israeli health officials have also authorized the use of controversial cell phone tracking technology to do contact tracing. Here in the U.S., New York has already announced plans to postpone elective surgeries at crowded hospitals, but some physicians warn similar efforts earlier in the pandemic created their own threats to public health.
I've talked to cancer specialists all over the country who have said, admittedly, colonoscopies were put off, detections were put off. We're diagnosing things later in the game because people were afraid to come for care. We can't do that again.
The South African doctor who alerted the world to the Omicron variant tells the Telegraph symptoms in her healthy patients have been unusual but mild. The British newspaper reports the physician is still concerned about the effect the variant could have on the elderly and unvaccinated, a concern echoed by U.S. health officials.
I think the initial cases were mostly young people who tend to have mild infections anyway. We need more data there before we could say confidently that this is not a severe version of the virus. But we should find that out in the next couple of weeks.
So while researchers are still trying to determine the severity of disease, the fact that this variant is spreading so rapidly throughout Africa suggests that it may be highly contagious. And so the bottom line is health experts are saying you shouldn't panic over this variant, but you should take precautions. You should be concerned. Arthel?
All right, Jonathan Seri, live in Atlanta. Thanks, Jonathan. Molly.
President Biden is heading back to the White House today after spending his Thanksgiving on Nantucket in Massachusetts. And we're getting some new reaction to his response to the emergence of the Omicron COVID strain. Jackie Heinrich has been there in Nantucket with more. Jackie.
Hey, Molly. Well, there's quick reaction from the White House in announcing these new travel restrictions, but seemingly a lot less urgency in imposing them, leaving an entire weekend until they take effect. The president said that was the advice of his medical team. But top White House doctor Anthony Fauci explained that a travel ban will never completely prevent the virus from reaching the country. The hope is that it might delay the process so the country can be better prepared with resources to handle it.
The mutations would strongly suggest that it would be more transmissible and that it might evade some of the protection of monoclonal antibodies and convalescent plasma and perhaps even antibodies that are induced by vaccine.
Reaction to the travel restrictions has been mixed. Markets are showing concern over another variant and whether it might hit businesses hard, or also questioning if travel and dining out could be impacted. There's also some concern that this could cause more inflation and also more supply chain issues. Republicans have also pointed out former President Trump was criticized for imposing similar travel bans. Congresswoman Nancy Mace said both Trump and President Biden made the right decision.
When President Trump did this, he was labeled as racist. But when President Biden does it, it's seemingly entirely okay. That is the problem with politics and a lot of the mainstream media coverage today and social media. They don't treat Republicans and Democrats equally. I'd like to see more data. I think that'll be really important in making policy decisions related to travel. But it is the right decision right now.
Vice President Kamala Harris said no more travel bans are expected at this time, and that right now the administration feels that it has done what was necessary. But Dr. Fauci said all of this is evolving in real time. And as we've seen over the last 24 hours, countries are imposing stricter measures to try to contain this virus. The UK ramping up testing, and Israel shutting down its borders to foreigners entirely after a single case of Omicron was detected in that country. Molly?
Yeah, a very swift worldwide effort underway. Jackie Heinrich live for us from Nantucket. Thank you. And we will have more on the medical side of the new Omicron strain with Dr. Peter Hotez later this hour.
Yes, I will be interviewing him. Thank you, Molly. Well, meanwhile, law enforcement across California mourning the death of retired police sergeant Kevin Nishida. Sergeant Nishida was shot while working security for a news crew in Oakland as would-be robbers tried to steal their camera gear. They were actually covering the spike in smash and grab robberies at high-end stores across the Bay Area. It's a disturbing crime wave that's also hitting Southern California. Let's go to Christina Coleman. She's live in Los Angeles with the very latest. Christina.
Arthel, we're learning new details about Kevin Nishida, who died yesterday from the gunshot injuries he suffered during that attempted robbery. Nishida is survived by his wife, 2 children, and 3 grandchildren. He was a San Jose police officer for 11 years. The police chief released a statement on his tragic death. He said, quote, "We must work together and stay committed to stop senseless violence and the loss of precious life and hold those committing these acts accountable." He also said that Nishida's contagious smile, passion to serve others, and an unmatched work ethic embody the best of all of us. Nishida's death comes after a violent week of rampant smash and grab robberies in the Bay and Los Angeles areas, resulting in tens of thousands of dollars in stolen merchandise. Law enforcement believes these flash mob thefts are coordinated group efforts. They're investigating who was organizing these crimes and beefing up patrols at shopping centers, but it's not stopping thieves this holiday season. On Black Friday, a group of about 8 suspects stormed a Home Depot store in Lakewood and stole crowbars, mallets, and sledgehammers before jumping in a bunch of getaway vehicles. Take a listen to this employee's terrifying account of how this all went down.
We closed the front entrance, and they put their sledgehammers up, like whoever got in the way, they were going to hurt them. And then they actually threatened a customer, but he got away, and then they just ran out, and then the cops got here shortly.
Police arrested 4 people in connection to that robbery, but dozens of smash and grab robbery suspects are still on the loose. Arthel?
Boy, and Sergeant Nishida's family remains in our prayers. Christina Coleman, live in Los Angeles. Thanks, Chris. Molly?
The sex trafficking trial of Jeffrey Epstein's alleged accomplice, Ghislaine Maxwell, starts tomorrow in New York. Prosecutors say that Maxwell helped supply Epstein with dozens of underage girls whom he then allegedly abused. One big question, will Maxwell take the stand in her own defense? Brian Yennis has been covering this all along, and he's in New York City watching this for us now. Brian.
Molly, look, Ghislaine Maxwell, the British socialite and former girlfriend of billionaire sex offender Jeffrey Epstein, has been sitting in a Brooklyn federal jail cell for 17 months and awaiting the start of her trial. After Epstein's suicide in a New York jail cell in 2019, his sexual abuse accusers see this trial against Maxwell as an opportunity to get some kind of justice. Maxwell is accused of being Epstein's madam, recruiting and grooming minors as young as 14 years old for Epstein to abuse. The 59-year-old faces 6 federal sex trafficking charges, which carry a maximum of 70 years in prison. Prosecutors say Maxwell would befriend these girls before handing them over for Epstein to abuse in any one of his mansions from Palm Beach to New York to New Mexico. In some cases, Maxwell allegedly took part in the abuse herself. She is the youngest of 9 children of disgraced tycoon and British publisher Robert Maxwell. She graduated from Oxford and met Epstein in the early 90s. People are fascinated by how a wealthy British woman could find herself being accused of these heinous crimes. Maxwell's lawyers have tried to get her free on bail numerous times, complaining about inhumane jail cell conditions. This is a photo of her with a black eye from jail. Maxwell's brothers says she's being scapegoated by U.S. prosecutors hell-bent on holding someone responsible for Epstein's crimes.
The authorities lost Epstein on their watch in federal custody, theoretically under 24/7 guard, and they're taking it out on my sister.
Maxwell pleaded not guilty to all the charges. Molly, the 6-week trial begins tomorrow.
Yeah, and it's hard to believe that it's finally come, that this trial is underway. We know you and your team of producers here at Fox have been following this, so we thank you. We look forward to the week ahead in your work. Brian Yennis, thank you.
Thank you, Molly.
Arthel?
Well, the Omicron variant reigniting fears around the world.
Should we expect to be seeing more lockdowns again, new lockdowns, more mandates?
It's really too early to say. People talking about lockdowns, people talking about that. Let's see what the information that we're getting in real time tells us, and we'll make decisions based on the science and the evidence the way we always do.
There's still a lot we don't know about the new Omicron COVID strain. Early reports suggest those infected with the variant suffer only slight symptoms, but some doctors warn the strain is very contagious and could even spread to those who are double vaccinated. Dr. Peter Hotez joins us now. He is co-director of the Center for Vaccine Development at the Children's Hospital in Texas and dean of the National School of Tropical Medicine at Baylor College of Medicine. Dr. Hotez, it's really good to have you here with so many unknowns about Omicron. I want to ask you, what questions will scientists try to answer in short order, and how long do you think it'll take to collect the data?
Yeah, you're absolutely right, Arthel. There's a lot we don't know. We're going to learn a lot more. Even by the end of this week, I think we'll know a lot more. Here are the questions that I'm asking. Number one, does this produce more severe disease than the variants that we've been experiencing, predominantly Alpha and Delta here in the United States? I don't think so. It looks like it may be about the same. We're hearing some reports of mild disease, other reports out of South Africa saying they are seeing some severe disease. I think it's going to even out in the wash and look like more or less the same as what we've been seeing with Alpha and Delta. The two other big questions, or three others, are what's the ability of this virus to escape vaccine-induced immunity? There are a lot of mutations in the spike protein, including the receptor binding domain, which is the target of all the vaccines. On the other hand, we've seen other ones with some similarities. If you remember the B1351 out of South Africa last year, the Beta variant or the Lambda variant,